one simple problem. How can I reach someone more effective? The lowest amount of effort that you can take to reach an audience is what is marketing. So expectations उस जमाने में सिर्फ इतना होता था कि मुझे response चाहिए. This is a movie Rocket Singh.
Yeah, Rocket
Singh वो end में dialogue आती है कि मुझे सिर्फ लोग समझ, आपको numbers समझे, मुझे लोग समझ. Your next door किराने वाला जब तक वो आपको मैडम इसके साथ ये भी लो नया पैकेट है, so he is also kind of selling it to you, right? Therefore advertising becomes very important, communication becomes very important. How on the face are they or how behind the scene are they?
Yeah.
That is what a lot of technology can change, and that's where technology can kind of aid a lot of sales.
Hello everyone, welcome to Wisdom Whispers with Abhishek. Have you ever wondered कि brands आप तक reach कैसे करते हैं? So इसी topic के बारे में आज हम discussion करेंगे. So for doing that, we have a special guest. We have Agith Kuruvilla with us. Agith has almost 3 decades of experience in this industry, and beyond just looking at media advertising and even podcasting, which is his recent love, he loves to cook for his family, and he's also a footballer. He also loves to play football. And recently he has developed this love to podcasting, which we'll be discussing more during the discussions, right? So let's welcome Agith to the show. Hi Agith, welcome to the show.
Absolute pleasure.
Thanks for agreeing to joining us for this discussion, Agith. Agith, before we get into this branding, advertising and media and whatnot, right? Would like to know कि आपने शुरुआत कैसे करी, क्या कर रहे हो आजकल, and how you think this entire industry has evolved?
Sure. So that's too many questions in one, but I'll take it one at a time. So how did the journey start? Honestly, I started very young as a professional. So I started working at the age of 20. All right, straight out of college, and about a couple of months after having passed out, I joined this little company called Confin. And I don't know if the company exists today. They were, of one of those distributors for Standard Chartered auto financing schemes.
Okay.
Right. So immediately out of college, you're this all of 20, young, want to kind of start on your own buck, cookie basic banana and all of that. And I interviewed, got through, and that whole first day experience would be like, just want to go and set the world on fire, right? As a typical salesman. So, and that's when you kind of realize कि, कहते हैं कि वो दाल आटे का भाव, right? कि यार भाई साहब हमें पता चल रहा है कि क्या होता है sales. And then you go into these small lanes in Kalba Devi, Masjid Bandar, in literally the back lanes. Talk to a lot of people and tell them why an auto finance scheme can help you get your first car, right? So that's where it all started. So car sales was where it all started. Second would be, it was a timeshare company where I was selling holidays. So it was again a young company. I still don't know where the company is today, but there were those small and young businesses that probably survived or were born to harness people's aspirations, right? So international holiday was a huge thing, like back in 1995. So we were selling holiday concepts, we were selling condominiums, we were selling timeshares and all of that. So it was that, and it so happened that I saw an ad in the paper which said looking for young, talented, advertising professionals and whatever for the Times of India.
Okay.
I just qualify for all of this, and the ad was such a beautiful ad. So a lot of young, handsome, beautiful women and a lot of good-looking people on the ad saying, "This is what our sales team looks like. So if you are one like them, come and join us." And that's when I kind of interviewed with the Times of India and landed up with a job, in the Times of India. And until you started there, you always wondered how does these ads that you see in the newspaper reach you, right? And that's when post the orientation and with some great leaders I had the opportunity to work with in the Times too, I realized, yeah, ये तो बड़ा science है. It is not, something that you just go and, people are dying to advertise. It's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And then as you go along in your career, you started working with one brand after the other. It was also the time when advertising media was dominated by print, right? And it was also the time when probably a lot of brands were entering the country. A lot of Indian entrepreneurs uh, were looking to compete with those international brands. So that whole phase, the whole journey throughout was, launching a lot of products within the time of India, being part of teams that were practically every 6 months there's a new product being launched and you're part of that team and you're kind of selling ads into that particular category. So it was honestly, the whole journey, if I have to sum up, was meeting a lot of people and solving for their advertising needs, right? So that's essentially what the journey is. And I'm happy to say that the journey still continues. To what I do today, it's exactly the same thing. So evangelizing a medium called podcasting, trying to tell brands how podcasting can help. How podcasting today reaches a lot of people.
Yeah.
Thanks to creators like you who are looking to kind of create a niche and content to reach youngsters. I'm sure there's a brand who would be keen to understand, hey, this is a big podcast, I need to use myself here. So that's literally the journey that it has been for the last 30 years.
And I think, if I'm not wrong, you have invested almost 20 years of your career with Times of India.
Yeah.
And so, what was the highlight जो लगता हो कि यार ये अचीव करा है उन 20 साल में?
To be very honest, right, and I'm being brutally honest, the day a salesman thinks I've achieved, that's his last day. Right? A salesman never stops achieving because he's wired to think what next. Right? हम ये सोचते थे कि when I started my career, it was for this lovely brand, lifestyle brand that India ever created called the Bombay Times. The Bombay Times was in its early days, and we were kind of introducing a lot of brands into advertising. Leave aside Bombay Times, but into advertising, helping a lot of realty clients, we were helping a lot of retail clients, a lot of jewelers, to start making them believe that advertising works, right? And we kind of provide for solutions for them, and we created. And I've seen Bombay Times. Remember, there used to be this fantastic project that we used to do called the Bombay Times Anniversary. So from a launch of a product to Bombay Times 20th anniversary or a 15th anniversary or a 10th anniversary, every anniversary was a landmark, right? So if I have to kind of believe how many Bombay Times Smiths saw at Biche, I kind of got some over 150 clients on this Bombay Times, my job was done. The day I think I start to think that job ends there, no, that's when, and that's precisely why an organization like Times of India was brilliant. It was an institution for a lot of us with a lot of learnings, and we launched brands every 6 months. We launched products and supplements and more supplements, and we would create more and more reasons for brands to advertise with great content that backed it, right? So. If you ask me to kind of say pinpoint on one great successful product, there are so many. And I'm so glad that you've been part of so many of these projects. Like, so even if it was the Femina annual book that you would come on, annual magazine that would come on.
Now I remember.
So there was there was a film fair annual.
Yes.
500 pages. Now 500 pages doesn't happen for love, it happens with a lot of advertising revenue.
Yes.
Right? And to kind of sell that project was. So every project was a passion project, right? To kind of, right until the last day before, I quit and exited the organization. My last highlight probably would be a big, because I exited the company during COVID. And I was probably among the only few people who met targets during COVID era, right? And in a category which was called human capital, which is basically a category that looks after recruitment advertising, right? So imagine this challenge. COVID was a time when a lot of companies started letting go of people.
Yes.
Right. So And my last project, if I remember, was a project we did with Great Places to Work.
Yes.
Right. So it's a research organization that does a survey of companies who pay for the survey to get ranked among the great
Yes.
places to work. That
Yeah.
was now imagine the situation: you're going to a company and saying, "Hey, um, uh, you're among the top 50 companies in the country. You're a great place to work. Why don't you must advertise in this report? Because it adds a lot of value and the usual sales pitch." And the CHRO said, "Hey, you know what? I got a situation. I can't advertise. Why? I just laid off 300 people." so there's no way, that so literally an ice to Eskimo situation, right? So, but we came up with probably the biggest ever report that came out that year. Do I say that's the ultimate goal? Well, if I have to kind of think that as, the highlight of my career, well, then honestly.
So maybe you left the organization at a high level,
Absolutely.
right? At a high point.
Absolutely.
That's what we say कि जब cricketers अपना retirement लेते हैं, यदि आप अपनी top
You leave it at your peak.
हाँ, so
Yeah.
तब लेते हो तो you feel very good.
Absolutely.
अच्छा मैंने कुछ lose नहीं किया है.
Correct. So that's been the journey. 23 years with the Times Group was over 15 different publications that I have kind of serviced. A lot of clients in respective verticals that I have serviced. The very interesting part of that journey was when I did the international business for the Times, right? Where we are representing Times of India to international brands. So India was, beautifully set up to kind of invite a lot of international advertising. And at the same time, the other aspect was Indian advertising that goes abroad. So, and Times of India, again, one of those brilliant organizations who created this particular category and vertical back in 1992, right, when the liberation started. So the company was so evolved to kind of start an international category way back in then, in time when the world is either looking at India or India is looking outside. So great learnings and great achievements there as well. So it's like I don't think Sachin Tendulkar will have one highlight to talk about. Probably World Cup win victory would be one, but then he can't not talk about his 100 centuries to be not being something that goes for the cause of victory. So that's how it is.
Right. So Ajit, next जो एक interesting topic है जो it will be good to understand for you. जब आपने start किया था, so expectations क्या थी? जब आपने इस industry में start किया. I know this industry has evolved over the years because you started in the print media, then it's now a digital media, and now it has evolved even further, right? It's a metaverse which we talk about now. So now if someone is joining new into this advertising and media industry, so आपकी expectations होती हैं?
There's always this little simple question that everybody asks: what is marketing? Right? And there are so many definitions, right? In the courtiers and so there's so many definitions today. The simplest ever definition that I always lived by was the lowest amount of effort that you can take to reach an audience is what is marketing, right? The most effective effort that you can take to reach a consumer is what is marketing. Therefore, advertising becomes very important. Communication becomes very important. How you reach a consumer. And those are days in, there were not many mediums as such. There were probably three mediums. There was print, there was TV, there was digital. There was radio. There was a little bit of out of home, not the way we see today with all those massive billboards. And there was theatre, right? Theatre was, screen theatres were also were quite impactful. So given those limited options that were there, the expectation for every business owner or a marketer or a marketing head was, how can I reach somebody effective? And I think as an advice to anybody who's in the advertising sales space or the media sales space, the more you can solve for that little problem, that one simple problem, how can I reach someone more effective? Right? And it could be either with content today or with the various mediums that are available today. So expectations उस जमाने में सिर्फ इतना होता था कि मुझे रिस्पॉन्स चाहिए, मेरी दुकान में लोग ऐसे आने चाहिए कि यार आज तो मैं कुछ लेके जाओ, right? So those are the kind of only expectations. Now that expectations would be different for a retail guy. It would be different for somebody who's buying fabric or somebody who's buying a house, right? Or somebody's buying a car, So everybody is looking to just communicate and communicate effectively. Expectation was, can you solve for that problem? And the more young sales team, salesmen or sales girls look to kind of solving that communication problem, I think you're in a better space to reach most of your sales targets.
Right. Because now I can even, my first, as such, marketing, maybe a small assignment was when we were in our college time and we have to print our annual magazine. And then you need to look at advertisers near to your vicinity to fund that magazine. Then you go to those people, अच्छा sir, हमारी magazine 1000 इस society में 1000 लोगों के पास जाएगी. Would you like to advertise in that? So I know it's very difficult to even उनको ये समझाना भी कि अच्छा आपकी रीच होगी एंड देन उस रीच का रिजल्ट भी आएगा बिकॉज नॉट एवरी टाइम एक रिजल्ट आप शो कर सकते हो राइट इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट यू हैव टू जस्ट सेल देम द स्टोरी बिहाइंड इट so it's not an easy game.
And the other thing, I think the same again to a lot of young sales people, sales is not about talking, sales is about listening.
Yes,
right. So if you hear to customers' problems for about 20 minutes, the next those 20 minutes are for you to mentally map who that person is, what his requirement is. The next 5 minutes is the only sales that you do. And as somebody's which is a movie Rocket Singh.
Yeah, Rocket
Singh वो end में dialogue आती है कि मुझे सिर्फ लोग समझ, आपको नंबर समझे, मुझे लोग समझे. Sales लोग है. It's two people wanting to kind of, somebody has a problem, somebody has a solution. The more their minds meet, but what goes behind in making sure that we have the right solution is where the hard work is, right? So sales is not about just barge into typical hard-nosed sales guy. It's a lot about how do you research about a client, how do you research about his requirements, do a little bit of what his journey has been as an advertiser, right? Keep an eye on what his competition has been doing. Right. Keep a sense of what his growth plans are. Get him to kind of, talk about it more so that you are just confirming what you just heard and what you researched. And that makes you more confident while you are on that. And when I say research is very important, as in very typically in a sales situation, if a salesman knows more than the person who he's selling to, more chances of he closing a deal is far higher.
Yes.
So spend time in research about the client, about his problems, about his competition. And last but not least, when I say log there, can you align with his KPIs? Right? Because he's doing a job as a marketer, his job is to sell more. The more you as a problem solver can align with his objectives for his growth, जितना आप उनके साथ align कर लो,
because आप उसकी help कर रहे हो,
आप उसकी help कर रहे हो.
यदि वो grow होगा तो आपको भी grow करेगा. That's just simple saying, right? In the corporate world.
Absolutely.
ये advertising as a field बहुत evolve हुई है over the last I will say 10 to 15 years more. Because if internet boom आया, then we are looking at, there are so many mediums which has opened up, and one of the mediums which we are also looking at, you are right now pursuing is podcast. Right. This is the latest and the newest medium which we are looking at for advertising. But how this industry has evolved and what these young guns they should learn or they should be prepared when they are entering into this field.
From a marketer side, what they are looking to kind of market is their product, which is again backed by a lot of research, because you just can't put out a product. So there are various aspects of how they go about marketing their product, right? So at every stage of their journey, they are always thinking, what is the kind of media they can use to kind of communicate effectively? Going back to what I said earlier, what is it that I need to kind of, medium should I be able to choose? So there was a time when your options were so limited, you knew which was the most effective and you picked one. Today, everything seems to be an option, right? And with the advent of digital and with the advent of technology that has come and reaching the last mile, a marketer is always in that space. What is new that's coming in which I can reach more?
Right.
So when you say you reach more, it's not just reach by sheer numbers. So let me put it. A Rolex brand need not reach millions. They just need probably 100 people, right? But how do I make sure that I reach 100 people? Now, if somebody had to go and say that, oh, you know what, I reach 7 million, 10 million people. Say that मुझे नहीं चाहिए यार. मुझे सिर्फ वो 100 लोग चाहिए जो बिजनेस क्लास ट्रैवल करता हो, जिसके लिए मैं I can create enough communication through his journey of consuming media in a day. What is that media or medium that I can pick and choose which can help you reach that 100 people effectively? Right? Now there are brands that talk to farmers. I wonder how a farmer needs to be talked to. Right? Now if you have to kind of go to him and say that, I'm into this whole business of, say, I'm digital solution. Here we are talking about a farmer जिसके पे internet शायद अब पहुंचाना भी नहीं है, right? He has a very basic smartphone today, right? There are farmers who do very well, and we are a very strong growing economy, including in the agrarian economy. And for somebody who's selling fertilizers, how does he put that message across to the farmer? If you, as a salesman, if you think that the marketer is not always in that space so the more you try to understand where he is kind of wanting to say this, what is it that you have that you think can solve for it? If you don't have something to solve for his problems, you may do one sale, you may do two sales,
right?
You will not go the last one. So that's what has changed. So that evolution is with more mediums coming, the evolution is with more technology coming, and the more effectiveness that you can bring in both in terms of reach and price, I think that's where a lot of solutions are getting created and solved.
And now the next level, right? Beyond this, a lot of organizations, they might not need support of advertisers as well, right? Because in terms of what I'm saying is now there is so much social media campaigns which they are running, which they run by themselves. Though they have, I'm not saying that they need advertisers in-house. They have a very big team who's managing it. But now we're talking about that in sometimes there will be a lot of AI intervention which will be there, which will give you a lot of data, which will help you कि अच्छा कहाँ आपको right reach करना है, जो कि पहले ये सारा काम जो advertisers का होता था, right? But now there's a lot of data behind it, data science है पीछे, right? जो कि आपको analysis में दे देगा कहाँ पे आपको करना है. So ये evolution पे जो new generation है वो कैसे काम करे?
I think salesmen will live forever. Why? Because the best sales organizations will only use AI to enable their salesmen to sell better.
Right.
You will, okay, let's look at it this way. Can you expect to buy a new car without being talked to? No, you can't. There has to be the last mile paid dealer who will give you the comfort that you are buying a brilliant car. Because you today, having exposed to a lot of media yourself, social media hai, AI enabled reach mechanisms hai. There's enough of retargeting that you have. You go to a website and then those brands are chasing you for practically for the next 15 days until you book until you book your test drive.
Yes.
Right? Now, how does the test drive car come to you? It's probably somebody who will drive it to you. Now imagine the problem of a brand like Tata's or Mahindra's or anybody. The guy who brings the car to you is not a well-spoken guy.
Right.
So you can't say that, So if that brand has enabled this test drive guy to be polished, speaks well, represents the brand well, that's an element of sales.
Right.
So you can't take salesmen out of the equation. Because you are whatever you're wearing from top to bottom, and for all those people who are doing it, you are not consuming a single brand which is not spoken to you. from the pillow you get up from, right, the pot you sit on, or the breakfast you eat, or the car you drive, or the vehicle you take, the metro you take, everybody has spoken to you through the day.
Oh, absolutely. अच्छा याद है now तो अब तो बहुत reduce हो गए हैं, but when we were kids, तो Colgate के advertisements, right, they were only targeting to kids,
Yeah.
primarily targeting to kids, right, क्योंकि वो आपका देखेंगे and then they will push their parents कि अच्छा यही toothpaste लेना है, right?
Correct.
And similarly when you move up, right, when you look at, now you said breakfast, right?
Yeah.
Kellogg's, why at everyone's home we have Kellogg's?
Correct.
Because it's reaching to us, we are not reaching to them.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's the beauty of advertising. Right?
Yeah. And ये चलता रहेगा. See, look at it this way, as in, you know that the reason for brands to kind of constantly think of how can I get the next customer to buy me, you know, so that effort चलता रहेगा. So while Kellogg's can do all that they can do, but your next door किराने वाला, जब तक वो आपको मैडम इसके साथ ये भी लो, right, नया पैकेज आया मैडम, नया पैकेट आया, so he is also kind of selling it to you, right? It's not while you have half a mind to go and buy Kellogg's, but that last mile push for the kirane wala, right? And today, if brands are reaching that last mile, it's thanks to a sales guy. So sales guys, boss, it's not going to go out of your life. How on the face are they, or how behind the scene are they?
Yeah.
That is what a lot of technology can change, right? So I can be remotely sold thanks to technology, right? I can have a great after sales, which is extremely important, especially with more awareness about consumers and how consumers are being more aware as to my transaction, my experience of a brand doesn't stop with the transaction. It continues after that. Technology comes in. And that's where technology can kind of aid a lot of sales. And that's how things are changing.
So one last question which always keeps in my mind for people who are listening to us is, ऐसी क्या 4-5 skills हैं which people will need when they are entering into this field and to be a successful person or a professional in this area? I know you have talked about listening, right?
Yeah.
Biggest skill I know वो हर फील्ड में required है. यदि आप अपने कस्टमर को सुन नहीं रहे हो तो कैसे बेचोगे कैसे?
I feel a lot of sales has kind of changed over a period.
Yes.
Right. So you know, sales back in the day was purely very highly transactional. Now it's about experience, right? So if I have to kind of, you know, evaluate every word that I'm going to say here after, first one is, as a salesperson, try to create an experience for yourself, right? Second, add a lot of value to what you bring to him as part of solution, right? Everybody wants, right? So if there is X, you as a salesperson, you know, it's important to kind of take it to X plus 1, right? Because that's part of your sales task. But can you bring in that value that you put in for that extra 1, right? So first is experience, you know, create a great experience. Second is build value. 2, 3 would be, as I said earlier, try to kind of be on his side to reach his goals, right? The more you align with his success, chances are that you will be successful.
Right.
आप एक हद तक सक्सेसफुल हो सकते हो जब आपने सेल्स टारगेट किए. कंसिस्टेंटली सेल्स टारगेट तब होता है जब आप कंसिस्टेंटली एक क्लाइंट के लिए प्रॉब्लम्स सॉल्व कर रहे हैं. So that would be the third point that I would say. If you can kind of solve for a lot of their problems, I think you are well placed to kind of meet your own goals and grow as an individual in your career.
So, let's move on to the last section of this discussion. Naturally, we'll move little different on a different trajectory altogether. We'll not talk about sales, media, and advertising. Would like to know more about you.
Okay.
Right? इतना काम करते हो, right? And how you unwind yourself and keep yourself motivated to keep learning, keep doing more.
Currently, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who's running a very young company, what keeps me going is to kind of creating great business values for the industry that I today represent, right? So, what keeps us going as an organization, what keeps me going as an organization is how can we build more value to the kind of brands that you go to, or to the creators whom we are kind of home to for what we do in Idea Group Studios. Um, uh, how do we kind of make it exciting for all those people who are part of this new age medium of podcasting? It's always thinking what's next to do, and it's constantly being in that space of thinking agla kya, so that is what you.
It's a very entrepreneurial answer, right?
I know, can't run away from that reality, right? So yeah, so that's what it is, and honestly, that's what it is.
But you need some me time, right? So what you do in that me time?
Okay, my me time would be my two young children.
Okay.
My two young boys, one is 14, one is 8. Both love football, so that's a passion they share with me. So maybe there is, at any point in time, if there are 3 teams that we all follow.
Yeah.
We all kind of are fans of. So one is Man City, the other is Arsenal, the third one is Liverpool. And for this season, correct. And this season couldn't have been better. सारे एक दूसरे से ऐसे भिड़ पड़े कि so it's always like भले Arsenal और Man City का गेम चल रहा हो, the Liverpool is waiting for what to happen. So it's like draw away. So football is definitely a passion to go to. We share, and that's why kids love it when I cook, right?
Okay.
So for them, I'm like, probably the best man who can make some great burgers for them. Yeah. So Saturdays and Sundays
better than McDonald's.
Better than McDonald's, absolutely. So they love it when I cook. So Papa, why don't you do this? Papa, why don't you do that? Papa make this. Papa make that. So that's a little bit of a me time and an unwind time. I love the kitchen. I love cooking. So that's something that I like to do for. And if we're going to do it for the kids, it's
absolutely. That's your life, right?
Yeah.
One more a little serious question. What exactly success means to you?
I think success for me as today as an entrepreneur, and today because I've always lived a life for about 25 years as representing an organization.
Yes.
So success then was different. Success now is probably a collective growth for the team, right? So the team grows, we grow. So that for me is success. So you can't grow individually. It doesn't happen, right? So team success is my success. I would say as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a business owner, as a young entrepreneur, if I would say, no success can be without your team's success in it.
Any particular book which you have read and which has like a long-lasting impact on you?
Who moved my cheese? Always.
Nice. One last question, right? We'll close this section too. I know now you're a big football fan, right? You follow that as well. But if you have 2 things to look for, one there is a live football match going, one cricket match going in Wangere, which one you would prefer? Let's talk about cricket as well, a final match of IPL, so that it becomes more difficult for you.
So I'm a huge CSK fan, right? So for me, a final is interesting if CSK is in it. CSK nahi hai, Tala nahi hai, Dhoni hai nahi. IPL, for me is practically over if the CSK is not part of the final. And if on that day, if there is a Manchester derby, honestly, it's Manchester derby.
Great. Thanks, Agith. I think that's very insightful session. When we are looking at advertising, media, and sales, right? All these 3 things come together.
Yeah.
Naturally, एक बहुत अच्छी फील्ड निकल कर आती है. There are a lot of young people who aspire to be part of this industry, right? क्योंकि इतना evolution हो गया है इस industry में. Now it's no longer door to door जाके आपको कुछ चीजें बेचनी है. There is so much into it. There is so much technological aspects which are there, and people are very pro tech, right?
Yeah.
So they would like to get into the mix of technology and sales and advertising. So naturally, it's very interesting profile to look for.
Yeah, absolutely. And for all those young salesmen, I think we got the best part of India today.
Yes.
1.4 billion people to sell to. There are brands who want to reach 1.4 billion and counting.
Yes.
It's for you to realize that there is enough problems to solve for. And it's a great time to be in India, right? So for all those brands who want to reach people, for all those advertising and sales guys who want to kind of, grow, you couldn't have had a better time in India here.
Right. Great. Thanks, Jay. Thanks for joining us.
Such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was our episode with Agith. Here we talked about that how this industry, advertising and media industry, has evolved over the years. अब the things which we look at as कि आप एक experience कैसे दे सकते हो जो अपने customers को, अपने clients को, how you can step into their shoes. The one thing which he talks about a lot during the discussion was that how you make them successful, right? यदि आपने उनकी success story में आप उसका एक part बन गए हो, then you are also successful. So these are some key learnings which we can easily take away from these sessions to be a good professional in this field, right? If you think that you can relate to it and you can learn from this episode, please do like, share and subscribe. And if you are hearing us on an audio platform, do follow us so that you can keep getting the updates from us. And do not forget to share the feedback, because that's the one area through which you can interact with us and can request the other topics which we can cover in our upcoming episodes. So guys, for a time being, I'm signing off from Wisdom Whispers with Abhishek Mittal. We will be back next week with another episode. Thank you.